Good evening, this is Steve Clark for Quarter Lakes Alt Media, KLAM, reporting to you on a Thursday evening. And so there's a few stories that I've been looking at in the last couple of days that I'd like to bring to you, and I think there is some interest to all of us. Okay, this one is Thibeault denies taking bribes, won't resign. Okay, this is a story about Ontario Energy Minister Glenn Thibeault. He is accused of taking bribes to defect from the New Democratic Party in Canada here and go and run provincially for the Liberal Party. And he's been accused of taking bribes to move, to do that defection. And it's kind of interesting that it goes on to say, okay, after the first court date Monday, Crown Attorney Vern Brewer told reporters Mr. Thibeault was not charged in the case because the Elections Act only prohibits offering bribes but not receiving them. Mr. Brewer alleged Mr. Thibeault sought certain benefits, offers or job or employment as part of his conditions to run as MPP. Mr. Brewer did not say exactly what the benefits were. Well, I think we can all see through that one. I mean, like, are you kidding me? You can't get charged with taking a bribe as a politician, but you can get charged with offering one. I mean, I think this is a very, very narrow view of the Elections Act in Canada. So, I mean, this is exactly why Trump got elected. Okay? I'm telling you right now, this is why Trump got elected, because of this kind of nonsense that's taking place in the courts today, this double-dealing, fast-talking, let's pull the wool over everyone's eyes. I mean, it is just unbelievable. And if you think that we are swallowing this, you have got another thing coming. So that's the first story. Second story, it's called Polls and Pundits. Donald Trump's win has devastated the public's trust in forecasting, but tools exist to do a better job. So this is, this is a bleeding, whining little piece from these atesticular geldings, as Lionel would call them. Who can we turn to for forecasts we can trust? That's not an easy answer. Judging every single forecast is harder than it seems, and judging forecasters is exponentially harder. Well, didn't we all know this? Didn't we all know that pollsters lie? That they can ask any set of questions? I mean, you can, for example, lay out a set of questions, and you could go to Bridle Path in Toronto, which is a pretty rich quarter, and ask those very same questions in Regent's Park, which is very much a working class quarter, and you're going to get a completely different set of answers to those questions. So when you're taking a poll of 1,000 people, which is not representative at all, and you're trying to kid us that is an accurate survey of people's opinions. And of course we saw what happened in the Clinton-Trump election, that the media were tripping over themselves to support their own candidate so much that they wanted to push a win ahead by actually creating the poll results, and they started believing their own garbage, and that's why they lost track of the election. That's why they didn't see Trump coming up from behind, because they were so focused on their own candidate and making sure that only good things were said about her, and trashing Trump at every possible opportunity. And of course there was Fox News, did it the opposite. They were basically trashing Clinton all the way through. But what these media groups have done is they have polarized the public. They have set families against each other because they refused to do balanced reporting. They only saw good in their candidate. They would not do a balanced across the board look at who they were reporting on who they were supporting, and the baggage that they were dragging behind them like a carcass from the crypt. And trust me, both of these candidates have baggage, but neither or none of the mainstream media was prepared to look at that baggage. Only the other one the other news channel would just trash the other candidate with all kinds of edited and clipped stories. They would pull things out of context, and now the mainstream media wonder why we don't trust them. Well, you've gone over the edge. You have disgraced yourself absolutely, and I will definitely support Donald Trump on this. He had every right to pull you into that office and strip you down for biased reporting, for partisan reporting, for lying. I mean, this is actually lying. Thank goodness for WikiLeaks. Had WikiLeaks not been there to provide these emails from Pedestra, from CNN, we would not have known any of this stuff. And it is just absolutely outrageous. You know, the Washington Post handing off editorial pieces to be re-edited by the Clinton campaign before they were published. I mean, come on. No wonder we don't trust you. And so this leads right into this next story. And it says, in coverage of this presidency, facts trump everything else. Okay, so this is John Ibbotson from the Globe and Mail. And I'm just going to read a few little pieces here in his article, because this is a good example of the incendiary language that these reporters have been using without being asked to say these things. I mean, they have just decided to interject their own personal feelings about this particular candidate. So he says here, the Times mini tempest highlights the quandary confronting journalists writing about the incoming administration. Mr. Trump is an incendiary figure, beloved of white supremacists, who has appointed a leader of the radical right. Now, is there really any need to call Donald Trump a white supremacist, or that white supremacists are attracted to Donald Trump? You know, I saw lots of interviews in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin of just regular, ordinary, everyday folk who supported Trump because they wanted change. Now, for you to insert that inflammatory language into your article, you know, we don't need it, John. John, we just don't need it. So take those things out. Stop being biased. This is your own bias. And, you know, he goes on to say, so what's the poor lamestream media, as Sarah Palin likes to call us, to do? Well, you are the lamestream media. This is a perfect name for you. Lamestream media. Okay? The big winners in all of this are the alt media. Okay? Who have been reporting pretty accurately and pretty balanced from both sides of the angle here. And he goes on to say, when revenues are declining and readers appear as inclined to accept false news through Facebook as real news from institutions such as the Times. Well, here we have on the internet, oh, what do we see? The Globe and Mail Facebook page. Oh, I guess that's fake news too, eh, John? Huh? Fake news on Facebook? So what are you doing on there? What are your articles doing on there? Absolute nonsense. Anyway, Trump has really confused these people, and he is making his own news. He goes on to say, Mr. Trump made that point when he and his senior advisors met off the record with television executives and anchors at Trump Towers Monday. He was particularly critical of CNN and NBC, according to news reports. For another, Mr. Trump has completely rewritten the rules of covering a president. He regularly sends out his own tweets, which are often outrageous, such as Monday's suggestion that Great Britain should appoint Nigel Farage, who led opposition to the European Union as leader of UKIP, as the ambassador of the United States. He would do a great job. Why, just because you didn't get the story, John? Bleat, bleat, bleat? Come on, he doesn't trust you, and why would he? I wouldn't trust you. I don't trust you. Which is why I'm making my own comments on my own news channel. Small as it is, insignificant as it is, this is the truth as I see it, and it's as balanced as you are ever going to find. And it's all because of the media giants who've proved themselves to be basically on the payola from their masters, who they do their bidding without question. If they want Hillary to win, they're going to cover Hillary, and they're going to lie and cheat and steal to get that to happen. And now I'm not letting Fox off the hook, because Fox did the same thing with Trump. There is absolutely no doubt about it. But the upshot of this, as I said, this has divided the nation. You know, roughly an equal amount of people voted for Trump as they did for Clinton. And so you have people sitting down for Thanksgiving dinner this weekend who won't be talking, because it's going to bring up some old wounds about this election, because the media polarized the public. You incited violence with this behavior. Do you understand what I'm saying here? Mainstream media, do you understand the importance of what you did by inciting violence, by inciting these demonstrations, by inciting people to not accept the election result? And I might add that at the last debate, Trump was asked if he would abide by the results of the election. And he said he would reserve judgment, to which the Democrats started screaming loudly that you have to accept the results of the election, this is legal, this is binding, and all the rest of it. And now that the Democrats have lost, oh, they're demonstrating that the election wasn't fair, that we have to change the results, we have to get rid of the Electoral College. Now, all I can say is on that is that before a game begins, any kind of a game, and this is a game, okay, everyone agrees on the rules before you start. And if you want to change the rules, that is the time to do it, and all parties must agree. So this is the way elections have been run almost since its inception in America. It was these rules when Obama won, it was these rules when Bush won, and even though there was a controversy with Al Gore, and these were the rules when Clinton won, Bill Clinton I mean. So we have the election, and now that you lost, you want to go back and change the rules. I'm sorry, it doesn't work like that. You know, and if it were the other way around, I know that you would be going crazy if Donald Trump was contesting the result of the election. So let's just get on and move forward. I thought these were both poor candidates, but that's the way it is. Those were the candidates that were up there, and well, you know, I think, as George Carlin said, like, where did these people come from? They didn't come into this universe through a membrane or fall from the sky, or these are American people who were voted in by Americans. Okay, so who do we have to blame for these candidates? Who do we have to blame? So the media has a lot to answer for here. And of course, like I said, the alt media has come out just absolutely shining. And how dare John Ibbotson even try to intimate that Facebook news or things that you see on alt media are lies or fake news, as they say. Well, at least you can choose what you watch on the internet. Your fake news is rammed down everyone's throat on the major network channels, and you really don't have a choice unless you go on the internet. And that's what I'm recommending everybody do. Try out the internet. Go look at some of these alternate news sites. There are some incredible reporters out there right now doing a fantastic job on reporting on all the things that you are not hearing about from the lamestream media. Okay, so moving on. Oh, and it's interesting how now all of a sudden the Globe and Mail is softening its stance against Trump. And here we are. Can you read the headline there? Oh, where is it? There you go. It says Trump's rejection of TPP could be a gift to Canada. Well, what do you know? Are you telling me that you're praising Trump for blocking the TPP and putting it in its deep, dark grave where it should stay? Because the TPP would have been a disaster for Canada, an absolute disaster. And you have to understand that these big agreements, these are not for us. These are not for the regular folk in this country. These are deals put together by huge corporations, and basically most of the things in that deal are to make sure that the corporations stay in charge, stay in power, and control everything, and put in place such arduous regulations that most small businesses just can't afford to keep up with the regulatory advances that are being made through agreements like this. The public was not consulted. These agreements, CETA, the agreement that we just signed with Europe, that was negotiated in private for 7 years. 7 years! Not one member of the public got to see any of the details, and yet the details of that agreement will affect all Canadians for a long, long time to come. And this is why Trump got elected. Because people are sick and tired of the hubris of these governments ramrodding this stuff down the public's throat when it's not good for the public. It's just beyond the pale. But anyways, as I say, the newspapers now, you're going to see a lot more of this. Slowly coming round to include Trump in their stories in a more positive fashion. So as I say, give the alt media a try. I think you're going to find it an exciting and refreshing change to news reporting. And yet, so what if you're looking at a guy like me sitting in his chair in his office with plants behind me and nothing more exciting than that, but at least somebody who is telling the truth and looking at things in a common sense fashion that is not trying to incite you to violence, to fight with your neighbours. This is not going to work. So I'm hoping that some of the good things that have come out of this election is, firstly, Donald Trump has forced people into a conversation that is long overdue. And that is how we run business in our country. So this is a good thing. It has got people talking about politics, which is another good thing, because every day politics affects our lives. And I'm not talking about the big political decisions in the government, but the little political decisions like what food you buy, where do you buy it from, where do you bank, where do you buy your clothes from? Are you buying from a big box store, or are you buying from a mom and pop store? Are you banking in a credit union? You know, when you bank in a credit unions have to lend money to local businesses, local families who want to buy homes. That money goes back into your community. And this adds to the contentment within a community, the security within a community, that people can afford to buy homes and that they can get financing for those homes. A small act like that, if every one of us put our money in a credit union, wow, what a change that would make. Because when you put your money into one of the big banks, guess what? Bank of Nova Scotia, that money's gone overseas to finance a gold mine in Ecuador or something, where it's polluting the environment and slave labouring out the local residents. Is that where you want your money to go? I'm not saying it is going there, but it's one of the many places it could go that you might not want it to go to. With the credit union, you know that your money is doing benefit locally. And if it's doing benefit locally, it's benefiting you in the long run. So these are small things, these are small revolutionary things that we can do. Shop at a farmer's market. Start thinking about local-based shopping, mom and pop stores, local stores, and make your dollars speak volumes. This is what the concept of a boycott is all about. you stop buying from a particular company to make a point. Boycotts are incredibly effective, and you know, I find it absolutely amazing that here we have in the computer and the internet the most incredibly powerful tool to organize boycotts, and yet somehow we can't seem to get together. I have no idea why that is, but this is what we're going to need to do. We are going to have to form a passive revolution like Gandhi did, and the way we organize that is on the internet. And what we're going to do on the internet is decide where we spend our money. We're going to decide what media we listen to, and if that media is lying, biased, and unfair, then it should go out of business. And by us choosing to watch other things on the internet, we'll just speed up this process. So like I say, give it a try. I think you're going to get a really wonderful surprise, and we'll bring you some more news when I see things of interest. Anyway, that's it from me, Steve Clark, reporting for KLAM. If you have liked the content of this video, please click on the like, subscribe to my channel, and I am going to make many more videos from here on in. We're getting into winter time, so my business has slowed down a little bit, and I have a little bit more time to do some reading and some video making. Okay, terrific. Well, you take care, you have a great evening, and I believe we have a little snow expected tonight, so be careful on the roads tomorrow. Thanks a lot. Good night.